Hi, my name's Andrew Charrette. I'm a founder at NewTrack, a mental health company. We take a holistic approach to mental health. So we do general psychotherapy, ketamine assisted psychotherapy, psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, and we integrate that with a holistic approach. So integrative health, yoga, acupuncture, massage therapy, and we're coming up with TMS very soon. I also work for a company called KGK Science. That's a contract research organization that does clinical trials. So we've done a lot of clinical research in psychedelics, and there I'm the director of regulatory affairs. I've basically been interested in psychedelics since I was a teenager. Inevitably, I read Aldous Huxley's Doors of Perception, which kind of introduced me to the world of psychedelics beyond it being like a party drug. And from there, I've just always been interested, captivated by psychedelics. I've gone through myself through many different trips, different substances, and really explore my own personal ego and my relation to spiritual matters. That's my biggest interest in it, and I think that's where a lot of people can grow and gain a lot from it. And I think that directly relates to its use as a medicine. I think people feel disconnected and they need that. And if you can talk directly to God or whatever else it is that you believe in, then that can really help you in getting better. Research is going to be required either way, and physicians and all healthcare workers want to see the data. So I think anything I can contribute to the research that goes in to show that these drugs are safe and that these treatments work is a huge contribution. Psychedelics are used to treat addiction, so they're not in the same category as cocaine or heroin or anything like that. And I think people have it in their mind. They also have, I think more people have this sort of fear that psychedelics will cause you to go crazy, like the scramble your brain, like those 1980s commercials, and I think there is some folks, just like with cannabis or with even SSRIs, that may be susceptible to psychosis from those drugs. And that's just something that needs to be accounted for in how they're delivered and how people are doing them. Taking a psychedelic will open up what's called a critical learning period that allows your brain to be open to social learning behavior for a period of time, which generally happens when you're a juvenile, and then closes up for good. And so it seems that these experiences can open that up for a sustained period of time, and that window of time correlates with the duration of the drug's acute effects, which is just an interesting point. And then if you go into the pharmacology, there's all these reasons why that might happen. It's very complicated, but I think it's super interesting. I think the default mode network and Rebus model are interesting as well, where the default mode network is this part of your brain that turns on when you're not doing anything or thinking about anything. So the one that I like to think of is when you're driving down the road, you're kind of zoned out and you're not really paying attention, but you are, and you're just kind of lost in your own thoughts. And that's your default mode network clicking on. And so that's affected people with depression, PTSD, many of these ruminating thought disorders tend to have increased activity in the default mode network. And when you take a psychedelic, your brain in general, the normal patterns of signaling that your brain does start to disintegrate, and you start to have more random signaling or signaling in different pathways. And in that way, the default mode network gets shut off for a little bit. And that's where your sort of ego, when they talk about ego dissolution, that kind of lines up, right? Because your default mode network, as well as some other networks, are kind of part of what your ego is. I think the addition of psychotherapy to ketamine treatment can only help, because in order to affect a change, you need to be thinking about building upon the change that you want to make, right? So when you pair psychotherapy, you're going in with an intention for what you want to achieve. You're thinking about it ahead of time. You're talking about it after, even if your experience wasn't directly related to your intention. You can explore it and see, what does that mean? And then for the period of time following up, when you're going through your psychotherapy sessions, you're kind of thinking about your experience, bringing yourself back to that feeling, and then really consolidating the changes that you want to have come out of it. And that's why when you do, if you were to do a drug at a party, you don't get those changes. Like the same things may be happening in your body in terms of neuroplasticity changes and stuff like that, but if you're not bolstering it the way that you want it to go, then you're not going to get the effect that you want. The one that had the most profound effects was in psilocybin treatment for treatment-resistant PTSD, and in that, I think it was something like 75% of it was a small study, but 75% of the participants had a significant reduction in their PTSD symptoms, and I forget the exact numbers, but it was something like 30% no longer were diagnosed with PTSD.